everybody, and welcome back on Eiersholt in late spring. It's quite early in the morning, and we're still in the progress of getting our animal duties completed. There's a good amount of field work that we need to get through here in late spring as well. Obviously, we want to keep our livestock healthy and happy, and right now we're just carting the last tank full of water, hopefully not the full load, but we'll see, up to the cows. They are thirsty animals. After that we gotta clean them out a bit, and we're gonna top up their total mixed ration food as well, and then we're gonna check on the pigs, see if they're okay, and then after that we will get on with two major pieces of field work. We are going to get corn sowed on our last field. That's sort of the priority task for today. But we also gotta put some fertilizer on a canola field up by the horse stable field 14. It is on this map. And we're just going to use liquid sprayer for that, because the plants will have emerged quite well. Okay, well, it wasn't quite emptied. There's 21 liters left in the tank, but nonetheless, the cows have plenty of water now, so we'll make sure we close the gate here, just to make sure nobody escapes. Then what we're going to do is we're going to unhook the water tanker, because we're going to use that Massey Ferguson to get in and clean out the cows, make sure everything stays clean and healthy in here as well. So we can see there's a little bit on the floor. It's not a huge amount. I don't know if it makes a difference that we're not putting down straw right now. We're going to start doing that in autumn and winter in the following year. Although it's not super warm yet, actually, even though we're in late spring. It's only 8 degrees. But as you can see up in the top window there where it says 8 degrees, that's the air temperature. And down below we got the ground temperature at 7 degrees. And 7 degrees is actually the trigger level for getting soybeans and corn to grow. So now we should definitely be good to go ahead with the planting. In the last episode, where we were making hay, ground temperatures were still sitting at around 6 degrees, so actually it was a little bit too cold to start putting the seeds in the ground. But now we're all clear and we can get going. Just gotta make sure the feed for the animals is topped up first. So we've still got quite a lot of feed pre-mixed sitting in our Anderson food mixer here. So we're just going to use that today, but soon we're going to head down and start using the feed mixer that's sitting down by our silage pit. We'll hopefully be able to use some of the large amount of hay that we got in previously, but better just start the mixer, let it turn just for a little bit. Just to make sure that the feed that's been sitting in there gets a little turn, and then we can start dumping out. They were not completely empty, so it shouldn't take too long to fill the feed trough here. So that's all good. We can turn the mixer back off again. We'll come back out through here. Because it's still quite cold, we still got the wind screens up. I don't know if you can actually see them. Let me see if we just actually back up and hop out. So over here in the stable, you can see we got this mesh window. There's actually a control up at the other end. If I just quickly run up here, we have a control in the stable right here that allows us to actually roll them up. So as you can see, the mesh is now getting rolled up, and that's great when we want some fresh air to come in, but that's really mainly relevant for when the temperature is a little bit higher. So for now, we're just gonna keep everything a little bit sheltered still. So we'll get the feed mixer back. We'll get the planter undergo. Actually, there is one other job from the last episode. If you watched the last episode, you might have noticed that we left the John Deere 8R and our square baler sitting outside overnight. It was getting late and it was very dirty, so we do need to take that down and give it a bit of a wash before we get out in the field, but it's still only 10 to 7 in the morning, so we got time. So yeah, as you can see, this baler got pretty mucky, and frankly so did the tractor. So we'll give these a quick clean so we can get things stored back in the shed. I don't think we need to take it through repairs right now. It was brand new, so these 94 bales are the first ones that it's run, and I think we should be okay to take it through some of the straw work as well, but a little clean never hurt anything. And we got a little wash station here behind the workshop, natural drainage on the floor, so that helps a lot. Obviously we don't get a lot of stagnant pooling water everywhere. And with that all done, we'll get the baler put back in the shed, and I think we're just gonna pack up the 8R for today. We're going to be using one of the T7s for the corn planting. It's already got twin tires on. Alternatively, could have used this 8R obviously with these quite large flotation tire on it as well, but the 7R was already kitted out. So here's the planter and the T7 that we're going to be focusing on today, obviously. We are also going to get the sprayer out. Now thankfully we already got this filled up in the last episode, so everything was ready. So it's really only just a question of getting up to the field and getting started. It's a little bit overcast today, but otherwise a nice day, so there should be no problem in doing this groundwork. So I think pretty much as usual we're going to do around 2 rounds of headland, and then we might actually get one of the workers to take over for a while so we can get the spraying done up on the canola field as well. But we'll get this started for now. Get some corn in the ground. The plan with this field is predominantly to use it for creating silage, so we have enough feed for cows. Obviously right now we have 100 head of cattle. Depending on how harvest goes and how the fattening of our pigs and everything like that turns out in terms of profitability, I am hoping we might be able to expand on the number of cows. But this is still the first year now, so we're still kind of feeling our way for how the economy and everything is going to work. But we got some good machinery, including these Horsch planters. It's quite impressive to see how the 2 arms are kind of flexing as it's working its way across the field here. But we better get a couple of rounds of headland finished first of all. So we're coming up to full 2 rounds of the headland, so I'm just going to call down and get one of the workers to come up and take over, because in the meantime we can get the sprayer ready to come up. And I think we probably also need our Massey Ferguson front loader or the telehandler to load up a bag of seeds to come up and sit ready, because 2 rounds of headland has pretty much cleared half the tank. So I'm just gonna level off this line here, and I'm just gonna get the GPS set so that the worker has a fairly straightforward job to do when they get up here. Okay, so he's here. He's getting started. There's plenty of field to go. He's left the car here for us, so we're gonna head back down to the farm and get a few things sorted out down there, and make sure we get some seeds ready as well. Looks like he's doing just fine, so that should not be a problem. Get turned around here and head back down. I would like to try and get some fertilizer onto this grass as well, so that we get a second cut nice and thick and rich as well. I mean, we got 94 hay bales out of this first quick cut, and it'd be good to get another round of grass, either to use for silage in conjunction with the corn, or to produce even more hay bales that we can potentially sell instead. But for now, I'm just going to head up and get straight up to the garage where we got the sprayer parked up, and get some fertilizer pumped into the tanks for that one. We've still got quite a lot of space. I do hope as we expand fields and everything that we might be able to increase the number of harvesters and such like, but right now we'll get our yaw and sprayer started up. Just check everything seems to be working. We've literally only run it for the trip pretty much from the dealership. Haven't done really any work with this yet, so it'll be nice to get it out and do a bit of work with it. But first, we gotta get some fertilizer put in it. Fertilizer tanks, we got a couple of sort of pre-pumped tanks here. That yellow one is for the herbicide, and then over here we've got the one for the fertilizer. So this is obviously going to cost a fair bit to fill this tank, but it needs to be done. Excellent. So while that's filling, we'll go and get the Massey Ferguson front loader out, so we can get a bag onto it and get some seed ready for the corn planter, because I think he's going to run out before that field is done. We are going to pick up the bag lifter and get a little bit of seed out of the silo. Each bag takes, I think it's 1600 or 2000 liters, so that should do us okay. We actually got an empty bag sitting over in this shed, because we haven't. Actually, I probably need to check on the chickens soon as well, see if they need some feed. But for now, we'll just use this empty bag here and put some seed in that, so it's ready to go up to the field. So we've got a little distance to drive in the sprayer to get up to the field. Here's the field that's furthest away. The fields closer to us have actually had all the fertilizing that they need this year. So the only fields that are left is this canola field and then I think the corn might need a treatment. The other thing we've got to start looking out for, of course, is signs of weeds. We've got to try and decide whether we're going to put herbicide on or whether we're not going to bother. I'm kind of leaning towards perhaps not bothering unless it's starting to look like a major infestation. Heading out onto the main road, should probably put some warning lights on, as this is a rather large machine as well, of course. So the field we're heading up to is actually not terribly large, so it's going to be a fairly quick job to put the fertilizer down with the breech of this sprayer. In fact, it might be more challenging to get into the field, get unfolded, and then not get snagged on any of the edges instead, but we should manage. Obviously, this piece of machinery is, on the other hand, very, very handy for some of our larger fields that we do have. This is basically the smallest field, and as you can see, the canola has grown quite well already, so it's looking pretty decent. And that's the reason we're not bringing up the pellet fertilizer, because the large case machine is fairly large tires and is likely to crush a fair chunk of the emerging plants here, whereas we have crop protection tires here on the sprayer. So it shouldn't take long for us to get this field sprayed. I'm not even sure whether we actually need the GPS unit for this one, because by the time we're kind of covered around the edge of the field, there's probably not an awful lot left. So we only have a tiny little patch left on this field, but we just got to notice that the helper is empty, so we're just going to hop down to our telehandler and get that sorted. So we got the seed sitting ready, so I'm not going to be experiencing too much downtime. So let's drive a little bit careful so I'm not spilling the seeds all over the road instead, of course, but it's not going to take long to get up to the field and get them refilled. Should be plenty of fertilizer. There's a huge fertilizer tank on the seeder, and strangely enough, not so much room for grain. I've never quite figured that bit out, but I suppose it's easier to refill grain on a regular basis, perhaps. Quickly up the hill, and then we'll get an overview of how far the work has gotten, and we'll head in and get it refilled. Okay, so he's sitting down there, so that's not too far away. So we're driving under seeded ground here. Hopefully we're not causing too much compaction, not carrying that much weight after all. There's the gate open. We can just have a quick look. So it looks like there's plenty of fertilizer down there still, and it's just a seed compartment that's completely empty. So we'll get the telehandler to extend the arm up so we can reach up. So this bag actually only have just over 1,000 litres, so the seed is only going to be about half full, but we'll allow it to keep running for a while, and we'll basically go down and refill this so that it's ready to come back up. We'll get the doors closed down and set the worker back on this task so we can finish off that tiny little bit of spraying that was left. Excellent. Oh, of course, we will get our telehandler out of the field as well. And we're back up, finishing the last tiny little area that didn't get covered with fertilizer in our canola field here. Now the plan with this canola is predominantly to use it for pig feed. There might be enough. I don't know what the yields are going to look like. If we get a good yield, we might be able to sell some of it as well. Make a little bit of money for this farm, because although we still have 178,000 in the bank, it has been going down steadily, and there's been very little, almost nothing coming into the bank account, with the exception of perhaps a couple of sold eggs, but nothing that really outweighs the running cost of the machinery. We haven't really started doing a lot of repair and maintenance on the machinery yet, so we've got some more bills over winter once we start maintaining some of the equipment as well. So we're almost back at the farm now with the sprayer. So we have almost 3/4 of a tank of fertilizer sitting here. Now we could unload it and put it back in the tank system, but to be honest, we know that we are going to be covering the field that's currently getting planted with corn. That is going to need a round of fertilizer as well, sometime in the summer. So we're going to leave this sitting in the tank. I don't think that should present any problems for us, and unless weeds really start taking over, we're going to try and avoid herbicide if we can, and swapping out the tanks. But we'll get our sprayer put back into the shed for now, and then we'll take the telehandler back up to the field where we're planting corn, and we'll take over from the worker for the last little bit, and that'll pretty much be us for today. So we're back in the T7 now. Still only till 10:30, but we've sent a helper for lunch, early lunch, and we'll do the last little bit here, experiment a little bit with getting familiar with our GPS unit. So we're gonna try and see if we can get a little track going here. Just set the width as well. And we are good to go, running on GPS here. Now, technically speaking, because there's not an awful lot of field left, it's not necessary as such, but make sure that we don't miss any of the edges or anything like that, and it allows me to familiarize myself with the GPS system on these tractors as well, of course. And we might actually be carving out a little... we should be okay here on the left hand side. I was a bit worried whether we were going to get a gap there, but it all looks good. So once we get up here, we'll lift and turn over to the next row, and just check that we're not going to be hitting any trees here, because it is a pretty wide planter. Might scratch through the bushes a bit, but that's not the end of the world. Drop the planter again, and we are running along a sort of row here. This seems to be working fairly well, although there's quite a lot of overlap. Maybe I haven't set the... Oops, there we go. Now I have set the width of our planter correctly, although I might have messed up the track now as well. We'll see how it goes. It's not the end of the world. So as you can see, our guidance lines here. For those of you who might not be familiar, the GPS mod is still in development. It's only available on GitHub, and it's very much one of those that you use at your own peril, so to speak, because it is still in development. So whenever you pull down a copy, there's no guarantees that everything's going to work. So I still have a relatively early version that seems to be working quite stable for me, but new features are being added all the time, and I have put a link in the mod list for the series for the GPS mod. But just be aware that it is something that's in development. So in spite of all of my lines, I still managed to make a gap on either side here. That's mainly because I started fiddling with the width of the planter after I was running a track. So that's kind of my own fault. So we do have another corner of the field left to do up there, but that's actually not bad. Still only halfway through the day here, and we've made really good progress here on Eiersholt in the springtime. The crops are looking healthy so far, and we're now getting into that part of the year where lots of things are growing. We're looking after our animals, but we might actually start thinking about starting to cut some trees as well, or something like that, because summertime is actually a time where we do have a bit of time to do those kind of things. But for now, we're going to try and get this planting finished first of all. So as you can see, it's obviously maintaining the lines right across the fields, so I'm not 100% sure how well they're going to line up with the corner up here, because that was created by the worker, not me. So we might have a little bit of overlap here on the first one. Yeah, here we go. And then if I remember to turn the sower back on, it works even better. But that's pretty much it for today, guys. So while I finish off this last little corner here, I think we're going to say thank you very much for today. Next episode, we'll start looking into some of the summer work. We'll probably do a little check on how the animals are doing as well. But for now, thank you very much for watching from Overcord Gaming. If you do like, hit that like and subscribe button, and see you again soon.